I hope that you bought Chicago Bears stock when they were 0-4 and had a 1% chance of making the playoffs, because the Chicago Bears are now one game out of tying for the final wildcard spot. With the Green Bay Packers lost yesterday to the New York Giants on Monday Night Football in Week 14, the Bears' chances have risen significantly. But Week 15 is where I am pounding the table for this team and a few other teams around them. The Eagles, the Bengals, and the Washington Commanders. And a win for the Chicago Bears against the Cleveland Browns on the road would give the Chicago Bears a 92% chance of making the playoffs after Week 15. And even if Chicago somehow does lose to the Cleveland Browns, the Bears will still have a 74% chance of making the playoffs as long as the Eagles and the Bengals win their games. Remember, we started 0-4. The Lions last year started 1-7. Lions finished 9-8. Bears can finish 9-8. And Chicago has a very winnable schedule. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Rohde, and as always, thank you for tuning in. If you're crazy like me and think this team really can make the playoffs, which I really think they can, make sure you smash that like button on this video and put your thoughts in the comments section below about what you think about the Bears so far. Or just throw a bear down in there if you're excited about the situation that we're in. So the Bears are currently 5-8 and are 5-4 in their last 9 games. Even better, they're 3-1 in their last 4 games. Also, with back-to-back division wins, huge wins by the way, this team is on the rise. The defense has become a top 5 unit overall in the last 9 games, along with the offense becoming a top 15 unit overall in the last 9 games. They have the 10th easiest schedule remaining according to NFL.com, and the Bears currently have a lot of enemies, but a lot of friends at the same time. The Green Bay Packers at 6-7, the Minnesota Vikings at 7-6, the LA Rams at 6-7, the New Orleans Saints at 6-7, the Atlanta Falcons at 6-7, and the Green Bay Packers are the biggest one out of that bunch that we need to worry about. But we have a lot of enemies at the time. But again, we're only one game behind most of them. I'm going to focus on the other teams that impact the Bears only during Week 15 in this situation. But the rest, I want to really just worry about the NFC North, because that's where it really matters for Chicago to sneak in. And with those 3 wins that we need that I talked about earlier, the Chicago Bears have a 92% chance of making the playoffs after Week 15. So let's go into the 3 NFC North teams remaining scheduled that aren't going for the title of the North. Bears play the Cleveland Browns this upcoming week, who the Browns are 8-5, followed by the Arizona Cardinals at 3-10, the Atlanta Falcons at 6-7, the Green Bay Packers at 6-7, and that final game in Lambeau could be a playoff game. Minnesota takes on the Cincinnati Bengals this week on the road. Then they have the Detroit Lions at home, Green Bay at home, and then they play Detroit in their final game on the road, which that game could be a huge factor as well. Then for Green Bay, they play Tampa Bay in Green Bay this week, followed by playing at North Carolina. Then they go up to Minnesota, and then they play the Chicago Bears at home. So now let's go into the storyline of what needs to happen over the next couple of weeks. We need Minnesota to lose to the Cincinnati Bengals, making them 7-7. We need Green Bay to lose to Tampa Bay, making them 6-8. And we need to beat Cleveland, because I'm not afraid of Joe Flacco, considering how well the defensive front 7 is playing along with the secondary. And after Week 15, the NFC North standings would be the Detroit Lions on top, but the Minnesota Vikings at 7-7, Green Bay at 6-8, and the Chicago Bears at 6-8. In Week 16, we would need Minnesota to lose to Detroit at home, making them 7-8. Then we need Green Bay to win over the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to get to that in a second, but then obviously we need the Chicago Bears to beat the Arizona Cardinals. The win over the Carolina Panthers would absolutely secure the number 1 overall pick to the Carolina Panthers for the remaining part of the season. So the Chicago Bears actually want Green Bay to win that game. Go up to Week 17. That's when the Minnesota Vikings play the Green Bay Packers, and we need Minnesota to beat them. Chicago getting the win over Atlanta at home. That would mean Minnesota is 8-8. That would mean the Green Bay Packers are 7-9. And the Chicago Bears are 8-8. So Green Bay is practically out of the playoffs at that point. Minnesota still has their shot, and now the Bears are 500 and have a shot to absolutely get into the playoffs. But remember, like I said earlier, Detroit plays Minnesota in Week 18. Detroit is the dominant team of the North right now, and if Detroit gets the win against Minnesota, making them 8-9, The Chicago Bears own their own destiny going into the playoffs at 9-8 if they can beat the Green Bay Packers at home in week 18. There is still a ton of outside help that could happen for the Chicago Bears, that they might not need this exact situation to happen, but this would be bittersweet to go from a worst to first in the same exact season thanks to a Montez Sweat trade. I'm telling you, that impacted this team more than people have to know, but that's how the Bears can sneak into the playoffs right now, just with NFC North help outside of week 15. Again, make sure to smash that like button if you want the Chicago Bears to make the playoffs and think there's a good shot. And also put your thoughts in the comment section below. And hell, just throw a bear down there if you're happy about the result from week 15 overall. With that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Roney, and as always, bear down, baby.